across the fence, April is the month of the military child. It's a time to recognize military children for the sacrifices they make and the challenges they overcome. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. In Vermont, there are 1,808 children who have a parent serving in the military. That's 1,808 Vermont kids who face unique challenges that civilian youth do not. Even when there's no active deployment, Vermont's military kids often say goodbye to a parent for weekend training, and the parent may miss major milestones like birthdays or school events. Clearly, these kids serve too. To acknowledge and celebrate their service, April is the month of the military child in Vermont and across the nation. And to learn more, I'm joined by two guests. Brian Stodnauer is the lead Child and Youth Programs Coordinator with the Vermont National Guard. He's a contractor, meaning he's a civilian employee. And Sarah Kleinman is the project director of the UVM Extension 4-H program. Brian and Sarah are both part of the Military Kids Vermont team. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Judy.
What is Military Kids Vermont?
That's a great question, Judy. So Military Kids Vermont is a group of community members, individuals, and community organizations that come together about 4 times a year to sit around a table and discuss programming for the military youth in Vermont. And we try to put on programs and experiences for that specific population.
And so who represents the Military Kids Vermont team?
Great. So there's Sarah Kleinman from the University of Vermont 4-H Extension Program. There's the Greater Burlington YMCA. There is Military One Source. There is the Family Readiness Support Assistance out of the Vermont National Guard. There's Valaris Self-Defense Center. There is, who else am I missing, Sarah?
Occasionally we have representatives from different veterans groups. It's evolved every year. It seems to evolve who has time and energy to do that. But the organization or the collaboration is really open to any individual, business, organization who cares about military children and families and can give some time, whether it's volunteerism or resources, help us brainstorm how we can further that support.
Sarah, talk a little bit about 4-H's role in Military Kids Vermont and why that's so important.
Sure. Well, I guess about a decade ago, it really started at a national level where 4-H, which is housed with the Cooperative Extension under USDA and the Department of Defense, began to collaborate to support military kids across the country. 4-H, as many people know, exists in every county across the state of Vermont, really in every state, and military base worldwide. And so specifically for active duty military children, when they moved, which is frequent, they would always be welcomed into a 4-H program. So an experience that they had in one place would be very similar to another experience. And they could build that sense of belonging and take that 4-H involvement with them in other locations. So here in Vermont, of course, we started with that collaboration. And it's part of what we do. We support all children. And military kids, especially here in Vermont, are geographically dispersed. It's mostly a Guard state. There are some active duty families, but not many. And so because of 4-H in every community out there, we welcome them into our programs really to support them with life skill education and youth programming where they can build that sense of belonging and build skills to enhance resilience, which is really a key component or something that we want to develop in military kids, especially because they do, I guess, engage in some behavior or challenging situations that just your average family may not.
Right. So why is April the month of the military child?
So if you've seen, months are given tags for lots of things, right? There's the National Volunteerism Month, which actually happens to be April as well, which actually is a great spot for a month of the military child to be in also because, these children, these youth, they do volunteer their services for us as a country. And it just so happens that April was chosen for month of the military child.
As a matter of fact, you brought along a proclamation.
Yeah, and we've been going down to the governors and the state house for about 10 years now, and we've been doing a governor's proclamation as well as a house concurrent resolution. And we did this. We usually kick off the month with it, and this happened on Tuesday, April 4th of this year. The governor brought us all into his office for about a half hour where we enjoyed his time. And this year was extra special because he took a moment and signed a school absentee excuse letter for each of the kids that
cool.
day. It was great. It was really cool. Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to recognize these children and the contributions that they make? Because people may not even realize that.
Yeah, and people don't realize that, you know, like their moms and their dads, they're the ones that sign up to be in the military, not the youth. The youth are born into into that service, right? And the parents, even in the Guard level, they do travel for their service to the country. You know, they're gone, like you had mentioned earlier, 1 weekend a month. They also are gone for 2 to 3 weeks during the summer as well for their annual training events also. Right. And so being able to recognize them and honor the service that they provide is really important, because the mass media tends to really just focus on the service members.
I would add too that those children, you know, they don't wear a brand or they're not identified necessarily in any way, because they're just kids. And especially those who live further out from Camp Johnson or here in Chittenden County, many communities don't know that they're connected to the military, or that they have parents deploy, or they go to training once a month. So just being able to honor them and provide activities and supports that might make them feel a little special is important.
Brian, talk about your specific role as the Guard's lead child and youth programs coordinator. You know, what do you do? What are your goals?
Great. So I'm part of a national service contract that's put on by the Army National Guard, and there's somebody in my position in all 54 states, territories, and districts. And you know, our big goals are resiliency and readiness for the youth. Because if we can instill resiliency in the youth, then they're ready for what's going to come down the line at them, and that also will inherently instill resiliency and readiness in the service member and in our armed forces as well.
Well, already this month, the Military Kids Vermont team has hosted a day camp, a skate night, and a youth job fair. They also got to go to a recording studio and make music with professional musicians. Let's take a quick break here now and listen to what they put together.
Just like me, okay? Nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible.
I can do anything.
I can do anything.
Nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible.
I can do any dream.
I can do any dream. Vermont National Guard. Guard Kids Rock.
Well, that looks like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a great experience for the kids. So we had about 20 youth participate in that, and they put together 2 songs, and they put them together from start to finish. They created the lyrics, they helped to produce the music, and then those 2 gentlemen that you saw on the camera there, the 2 adults, they took it back to Georgia, and they produced it all and put it all together and then sent it back to us. And the kids got 2 full songs out of the week. It was really cool.
Talk a little bit about some of the programs that you've had recently for the military kids.
Great. So yeah, you saw the music camp. We did something at a local climbing center as well for February vacation day camp, where they did 2 full days of indoor rock climbing. And there you go. There's some photos right now. And during that time, we're really focusing on their personal leadership development and the resiliency skills as well, and putting them into challenging positions, both physically and mentally. We do overnight camps in the summertime, everything from a 1 week long teen leadership canoe experience that's happening this summer, and to an overnight residential summer camp, where we'll have about 85 kiddos part of that camp, and they're all kids of Vermont National Guard service members, which is really great.
Now, notice that, especially with the rock climbing and so forth, that's a lot of sort of team building, isn't it? Is that important?
Absolutely, it's very important. Team building and communication skills are something that I've really pushed hard on in the program, because if they can come together with a group of kids from around the state and be put together in a room, and within 30 minutes they can be communicating smoothly, and they can be starting to work on their leadership development and their team building skills, then that's going to help them out exponentially as they grow. And I know that myself, whenever I was 8 years old, like some of the kids in the film there, I certainly didn't have these opportunities presented to me when I was that young, and so I had to learn those later in life, whenever I got into high school, whenever I got into college. So having that experience at a middle school, elementary school level is fantastic. 'Fantastic.
'Why is it important to bring military kids together? 'Cause military kids, they have a lot of
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sure.
Please.
Well, again, they're dispersed, and so being able to bring them together so that they build their own community of friends and kids who understand the experiences that they're going through just helps them that much further. It's hard to talk to a friend who may not empathize or really fully understand exactly those kinds of experiences. So your parent goes away for the weekend. It is a big deal. They miss a birthday. They might miss a graduation. And if you have other military friends who understand that, and we can help foster those relationships, that's really important, and that can enable those youth to get through those challenging times.
You know, and while there's a deployment currently, sort of the older children, and maybe even some of the younger ones, remember when there was a deployment, and to know that that could be on the horizon must be kind of a scary thing.
It is kind of a scary thing, and our, the Vermont Army National Guard's deployment cycle is on the upswing, as we've heard, and some town hall meetings across the state from the TAG. So it is on the upswing, and these kiddos will be faced with that. And so knowing that there's another youth out there that's the same age as them that has the similar experience, then that allows them to connect on that level, which they just don't get in their regular classrooms.
So tell me a little bit about these programs and who pays for them. Great.
So there's a number of different places that we acquire money from. There's the great support of some of our local community members and community businesses, which chip in a whole bunch. I know that we wish that it would be more consistent and didn't just happen during deployment periods. But then the DoD throws in some money as well. Actually, a fair amount of money, and I know that Sarah, through the 4-H extension, has gotten some grants through the Department of Defense as well, which has helped out that a whole bunch, yeah. But really, it's our tax dollars, and that's what they should do. They should be supporting the families and kiddos of the military service members.
And businesses too. So the various organizations, whether it's 4-H, the Greater Burlington YMCA, many of us over the years have just built in sort of this mission that we want to support military families, and so we've been able to provide scholarships or some cost savings to enable our existing opportunities to be more accessible to military families.
Is there anything that you want, and this is a question for both of you, that you want sort of the broader community to know about these kids?
Yeah, I'd say for me is that, these kids they're not walking around in military uniforms. They're not walking around with Army hats on and or Air Force hats on or Navy or Marines garb on. And so just knowing that they're out there, once we move out of the greater Burlington area, that population density shrinks really fast. And we have, in a lot of places, there's less than one kid per square mile that has a military affiliation. And so just knowing that they're out there, being open to that, and remembering that, whenever we are at times of war, or we do see the United States in places that maybe we're not that excited about us being in, that we need to be careful about our language because of how that impacts these youth that are coming up that have military service members in their families.
And I would add that there are kiddos everywhere across the state that are military connected. And so if you are a neighbor, if you're a business, if you're an organization, even if you're down in Bennington or up in St. Albans, that if you have an interest in supporting military families, to connect with one of us, because we know where the kids are, and so we're able to help provide those opportunities and make those connections.
And one of the opportunities coming up is a 4-H camp that's offering military kids drone camp.
That's right, yep. So that's one of the grants. So we were successful to get a Department of Defense grant that specifically, this one is for Air Force kids. And it's our second year running it in connection with the Rubenstein School at UVM and the Spatial Analysis Lab. So for 3 days, some 20 teenagers will come to campus, learn about drone technology, learn how to fly the various drones, because there are a bunch of them, and then take some data and use that data to develop mapping and solve some sort of community problem, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what that is, but that's coming up in June.
So it's not just to have fun with drones, they're going to be doing a job.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, we're teaching them some life skills, job skills. The Air Force, each of the branches in the military sort of have their own focus in terms of what kind of skill set they would like their youth perhaps to get. And so Air Force is very much focused on the science skills, and that is one of the reasons we're doing this.
What other programs, Brian, are coming up that military families can find out about?
Yeah, so if you go to the Vermont National Guard Family Programs website, that'll list all the various, and there's the link right there, and that'll list the various programs that are available through the Vermont National Guard Family Readiness Programs, and that's both for Army and for Air Service members across the state of Vermont and beyond. And so there's the Military One Source, there's a Family Readiness Support Assistance, there's the Family Assistance Centers, there's the Vermont Veterans Outreach, which is a great little program that Vermont started and is being nationally recognized, and it is going to spread across the country. But yeah, come to our website, check us out. We got lots going on. There's lots of assistance, and there's no, you can be a veteran, you can be a retiree, you can be currently serving.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so
having
much,
us.
Judy.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.